This is the John Hallett Podcast with John Hallett.
It's because the way we're living, we need to change it, make it change today. And all learn from failure. Maybe they just wanted it a little bit more than you. That's probably the fact.
And now your host, John Hallett.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I am John Hallett. I am joined with Josh Hammerling, the Hammer.
Hey,
Or Sparkle Sash.
So I've had two nicknames in my life: Hammer, well, a couple, MC Hammer, and apparently Sparkle Sash. But I blame Todd for that one.
You blame Todd? I blame you.
You guys all got really cool nicknames, and he gets to me, and it's like, hey, Sparkle, here's Sparkle Sash. Sparkle Sash. I got a T-shirt though, so if you haven't been to the pro shop, you should go now because they're awesome, and you deserve stuff.
Yep, that one's on the KravMaga-online.com website. But big news, We've got the ClearSky Defender in our hands and working through the Kydex, a couple of adjustments, but no real big deal when you're talking about the design of a knife. That was the hard thing.
Put it right at your chin.
Josh wants me to put it right at my chin. I think Josh is trying to get me to kill myself.
No, well, there was an instance earlier where you're like, I'm going to surprise him with a knife on the wall when we were practicing, when you were like, don't surprise him with a knife on the wall. Like 5 minutes before,
So, we've got this. This is available on the ClearSky-online.com for pre-orders. We're really excited about getting this thing moving. The first 25, you're going to save big, and you're not going to get that price again, guys. You're not going to get it again. You're part of that pre-order kind of GoFundMe type of thing to get this project off the ground, because it is a chunk of change to get it off the ground here. So we're offering a huge discount to our first 25 people, and we're going to do, we've got earbuds we're going to give away and a couple other things just along the way that we're going to kind of add on there. So check that out. It is designed for the martial artist, for Krav Maga, how we punch here, that I'm recoiling my punch and I can fight with this knife the way I would normally fight. I don't have to change my fighting style for my striking. So that's what it's designed for. The retention ring is bigger in some things. Actually, Keller's got this knife. He's going to put this knife on his website because he has a similar knife with a retention ring that's out of stock. Again, he's making these things in Colorado, guys. These are made in the USA up in Fort Collins. So he's been out of it. He's like, oh, maybe some of the people that were interested, I'm going to forget the knife. I'm sorry, Keller. That he has in it. It looks great. It was one of the things that drew me to him. I'm like, oh, he's got something similar, but not really what I want to do. So he was like, why is it so big? And it doesn't hurt your finger when you hit something. Like other knives that are out there will kind of kink your finger, and it kind of almost feel like, if you're familiar with firearms, of getting your finger stuck in the trigger guard right in there. This does not hurt your finger when you punch, and it's also great for striking because, again, I want to use this for defensively. Can I hammer fist with this? I can use it in so many different aspects, but generally I can punch with that knife, and I've got that great retention ring. That is fantastic there. Mouth of the hand punch. If you're familiar with that, I can come up and strike with the retention ring. So we're excited. Josh, you have any feelings on the knife?
It's Dagger and Knot, right? Is the guy that you...
Yeah, Dagger and Knot.
Yeah. So great customer service first for them, right? I mean, working with them, it's fantastic. So big thank you to them. Second, the steel that we used is fantastic. I forget the letters on it. We'll have it up there on there. But this is a really strong steel. And when you have a blade that... the blade length is about 2.5 inches off the end of that. Anyway, it's just short enough, but this thing is strong. You'd be able to strike with it. That ring is amazing. I was watching you beat up our poor friend Bob with it, and it's lightning quick. And it comes right out of that holster onto target. When you're justified to use a knife, obviously. So we'll always say that. But it was lightning quick how fast you got it on it, and you were just... The amount of self-defense that you can produce with it is amazing. That's what I'm going to say. It was cool. I love it. I love the way it rides. I mean, it has a, you put an ulti clip on there, you just put it in the right spot, and you're going to even update the holster, right? Because you already saw, or the change in the sheath, because you already
Yeah,
felt a
we're
few
going to
things,
change
right?
the sheath just for more retention. That's something that we're big on here, thanks to Todd Fossey and Integrative Defense Strategies. That we want it to be concealable. I don't want somebody to see this thing. I want to be able to retain it, and if it's deep in my pocket, I'm going to be able to retain it. I can also retain it at appendix carry and the 3 o'clock. Like, where are you comfortable? There's going to be a lot of options, but one big reason, if I'm not armed, if I don't have my firearm for whatever reason, I can put this guy at 3 o'clock, at appendix, and it's the same position my weapon is in day to day. If I'm going for a weapon, it's the same thing. Can you train enough to be like, my knife's in my pocket? Absolutely. My gun is at 3 o'clock or appendix. So there's a lot of options, but I can conceal this on my waistline, in a pocket. The retention ring can be out of the pocket, and that's some of the reason for switching some of the kydex around, that we're going to have a mounting option for the kydex on the back side, so that doesn't interfere with you drawing that knife if it's in your pocket. So a couple good options. Keller's great to work with. Yeah. And this thing feels great in the hands. I said to him, we've only had one person that didn't like the feel, but I think they're very attached to the knife that they have already. And I joked that he's Irish, but I've got Irish on both sides of my family. So before you get all crazy, freaking people, before you ban us. But that stuff's real. I think the knife is fantastic. Yeah. It's got a lot of options, especially if you're not comfortable with the firearm. But I got to tell you, sometimes I'm like, hey, if you're not comfortable with a firearm, are you comfortable with a knife? Maybe, but it can still be used against you.
Oh yeah.
You got all the con. I mean, there's a con to everything, and you got to pick a personal defense weapon that is practical for you. But when the odds are against you and you're about to lose consciousness, having some sort of option like a knife, like a firearm, really completes the self-defense package. And that's what we believe here. That's a big part of our Peaceful Warrior program, that I want to do whatever it takes to go home, and I've got to find what works for me.
Yeah, I 100%, dude. Yeah, I remember when the early days, you're like, man, I really want to design a knife, but you're like, I really want to make something like a martial artist can use, right? And that was like the first thing you said, right? And that was your whole goal from the start. And I thought, it's going to be a lot different than any other knife that I bought out there. And when you hold it, I mean, you can feel it. It's got great G10 handles on there. I mean, I love the feel and fit of it.
Yeah, it feels great in your hand, and there's other knives out there. There's a lot of different things out there, and we kind of took things that we liked from other things out there, and what we didn't like, and tried to come up with something that worked for us, but it was made in the USA. This is a thicker width steel than some of the other things that are out there that are similar, that are probably made in China. At least that's what when Keller, he's the knife guy, puts his hands on it, and he's like, yeah, this thing's, not the greatest. It's probably manufactured out of China or someplace like that.
And they're stamped. Like, they all just come off a press, boom, 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 right? These things are handmade by Keller.
So, it was something we really wanted to do, or I wanted to do, that was made in the USA. And that stuff can be tough, guys, that, we all want to do it, but we've got to make a switch, whether it's, Anheuser-Busch, which is a bigger company too, maybe boycott all their other brands and they'll really feel the pinch. That we've got to do something, and I know it's freaking hard. Like, it is really tough to, get rid of some of these companies, but we've got to start talking with our money here in this country. That, I think somebody said, I forget who it was, like, conservatives just want a freaking t-shirt, and I just want to buy the t-shirt. I don't really, I just want a t-shirt. But, it's going to be harder here. Don't go to Target. If you, don't believe in what they are saying to you. Did I move that, Josh? You can say it. I'm out of focus, Josh. Josh has got a bum knee, so he's like hobbling over here.
It's not a bum knee. That thing is healed. Anyway, keep going. I don't want to talk about it.
So, we've got to do those type of things. And, I think people get, it is hard. I understand it's hard for me, but I'm trying to make those changes and, trying to be open-minded. I actually, talking to a buddy of mine about Robert Kennedy Jr. And, the first thing, he's not 2A, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, what Josh has told me is that he is. And I'm like, I still have more research here, but I think this is a guy that could bring the country together.
Maybe.
What's that?
Maybe.
Maybe. And like talking to him.
I've met the dude, and I've talked with him.
Yeah, actually there was 2 guys there at fitness class.
Yeah.
Doing a strength workout on Tuesday, and Mike and Aaron, and I was like, they're both, and I'm like, hold on. Like, the country's never going to come together? I'm like, well, that's fucking negative. I don't like that.
Right.
I think he's a guy. I'm like, Trump can't do it. And, this and that. He's polling great. I'm like, there's too many people that hate him. He's a narcissist. I'm like, I don't like the way he handled January 6th. And they were like, oh, that was orchestrated. I'm like, I don't give a shit. And I don't swear a lot on the podcast, but this stuff,
now I got to do some editing.
like, no. Seriously. Like, I don't care if it was orchestrated. I don't care if there was a dude out there in a Biden, I don't know. I don't know what t-shirt he has on. And he's got a megaphone, and he was pretty much saying, whatever. Trump should have told them to stand down. He should have told his supporters to stand down. Like, he liked it. That's what I see. What are you going to say? He's a narcissist. He loved it. He loved it.
What I'm going to say is that when you've got a third candidate who runs, right, and they're on the liberal side of the ticket, Joe Biden could be facing an election that was reminiscent of the Ross Perot, Bush, Clinton.
Yeah.
Remember that one? And Bush doesn't win his second term because he siphons just 11% of the vote, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they're really afraid of. So I'm going to predict if he runs, he may cause the loss for the Democrats. But I think he'd be I've never voted for a Democrat before, but I've talked to this dude. His stance is on one thing. If he doesn't follow along party lines, he stands a strong chance. And what if there are Dems out there that are conservative, right?
Yeah,
they hide.
There's people in the middle.
Yeah, so if he was to take a couple of different stances, which he has, he was actually quoted as saying that the Second Amendment is settled and the Supreme Court continues to strengthen it, which is something you never hear a Dem talk about, ever, right? Ever. So imagine a candidate that comes out and covers some of those conservative points of view, right? And starts to promote them. You might see a birth of a third party. I mean, we haven't had that since, I want to say it was before the turn of the last century, right? Before there was a significant party that actually, it might even be 2 centuries. No,
yeah.
It's been a long time. I wanted to say it was almost the 1800s, like the Whig party, and then you had them. But
yeah, I mean, we need something in this country to bring people together. I really feel like the last time it was September 11th, this country was kind of unified. Mm-hmm. And you look at these things, and I like his stance on wars. Of why are we in these things? Look, we've killed more Iraqis than Saddam Hussein. There's problems here. I like what he's saying. I mean, I'm super conservative and self-defense, but I'm like, we don't need our young men and women dying in combat unnecessarily for somebody to strengthen their freaking investment portfolio that's heavily invested in the defense, military defense.
My only issue is that I worry that there might be some things that he might go party lines with. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't,
But he might be a genuine rebel. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And there's a bunch of stuff. I've said it before. Conservatives, I feel like you need to stay out of fucking people's business. The whole abortion thing, gay marriage, any of that stuff that you're going to say no to. It's not up to you. That's me. I can meet my maker and be judged. Or not judged, whatever the hell you believe. But it's not for you to tell me that I can't have an abortion. But I think the government needs to stay out of that crap. I think it's an individual thing, and then people get all pissed on the other side, and we're losing because of this. You're losing voters because they believe people should have free choice. It's just something that, the right can believe passionately about, but great, that's your family, that's your church, awesome. But I believe the country needs to and the government needs to stay out of that stuff. It's kind of like the vaccine.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me to get a vaccine. Exactly. Don't tell me I can't get an abortion.
RFK Jr.'s whole stance started with the vaccine. Long before the vaccine for COVID came out, he was against vaccines. And they called him a quack, right? I mean,
of course, right?
They call him a
they're
quack.
trying to discredit him because he's speaking out against what they've been touting.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
it's ridiculous.
I'll be interested
we
to
need
see
to
what he
come
does.
together and put our personal differences aside, and they want to divide us, and it's just tearing the country apart. And we need to strengthen this shit. Like, get together, people. Like, people that tear it apart, and the news, and again, just give us the real news. Let us decide instead of putting your spin on it. I'm tired of it. So,
hey, just real quick, that submarine thing has really been, that's scary. Have you read about that?
I did because they just found a new city on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico.
Oh yeah, yeah. We were just talking about this stuff before we aired. Yeah.
I guess it's 1440. My 1440 newsletter.
Yeah.
They had that on there yesterday. So shout out to these guys. It's 1440 Daily Digest. I'm sure you can Google that, but they have some great again news. So.
Hey, would you take a submarine tour?
I saw the cost of it, and I was like,
how much is it? I never looked.
They had. I deleted the one.
It's got to be
yesterday.
like six figures plus, right?
It was. Yeah, it was like 6 figures, and I'm like, well, when Josh asked me what I want for Christmas, I'll put
I want a submarine.
I'll put that down.
No, dude, because my biggest fear is what goes wrong, which I hope they.
And this thing's lost, right?
Oh yeah, and they can hear
Is
stuff going on down there.
3 or 4 days of air. I saw.
Well, today's like the red line. Like,
is it?
They've just
they can they haven't got to them.
Yeah,
they
and
want to do some sort of crazy rescue.
And the only things that are capable of rescuing it are on the other side of the planet. It still takes them 3 days to get there by water, but that's by the time.
It's just going to take time.
So, I mean, that's scary stuff. It's cool, right, that somebody could go explore the Titanic. If I had that kind of disposable income.
Yeah. I mean, I might, and I might not. Be like, how's your rig here?
I'm more afraid of the ocean than I am space.
Are you?
My wife said that too. Yeah. Why not? Because space, you kind of know what you're getting into, and you could... Like in water, dude, you don't know what's down there. Big, ugly, scary things. Anyway, we've digressed from the knife, but I wouldn't do it. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So what do you want for Christmas this year?
What do I want?
Yeah.
I do want a Garmin, but...
From the fam? I mean, if they're listening, which they should be, they know.
It's on my Amazon wish list, Josh.
What the heck is the Amazon wish list?
You don't have an Amazon wish list?
No, what is that? Seriously, I don't. I mean, you can ask for things on Amazon?
Well, yeah, you can create a list that's Josh's Christmas list, and you can give it to your wife, and she doesn't have to be like, where do I find that holster?
This is amazing! I want to try it.
And
I'm going to fill
you can
that
put stuff
cart.
on there.
Really?
If you're like, do I really want this? Do I need this? I'll put stuff in if I'm comparing items.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, well, am I going to be able to find this thing again? So I'll throw things on my wish list, too, that I just, maybe I want.
Wow, that's crazy.
But Christmas time, it makes it easy. People can just click.
Yeah, because then
yeah, the size, everything's there. It's not like, hey, I want this T-shirt, and
guess.
And they get you the wrong
right
warrior
size.
poet. I don't know, T-shirt or something like that. That's not the IDS T-shirt I wanted. I wanted that one. Actually, Gina had one of my new orange camos. It's 2.0 rash guard. I was like, that
awesome?
looks awesome. I don't have one because I have 1.0 and I changed it around a little bit. I had a little bit more dark. Took out some of the orange and it looked cool.
Rash guards are great, especially when you're on the mat and you're rolling a lot.
Yeah.
Because when we teach our Citizen Defender here, there's times that I get up and I'm like, gosh darn it, that hurts.
You're rolling on the ground, you're grappling. a rash guard, or those people that wear shorts. I know you're like, I'm wearing shorts, but man, you get knee burn, you got mat burn, that stinks. Like, and then it just comes back. Actually, I've got a whack on my elbow from.
Ouch!
I wasn't wearing a rash guard, and that sucker just burnt. But then we were doing some slow touch sparring yesterday, and I don't know how many times I got like protecting my ribs from a round kick that like. Oh, now it's just getting hit. It just feels like everything's hitting that little injury. So
why does the little injuries feel like they hurt more than the big ones sometimes?
I don't know,
it's just like,
because you're a baby, the big injuries should hurt more.
It does. Thank you.
No, little injuries are super aggravating.
I know they just bug you more, right? You're like,
and like some of them like that. Like I forgot I didn't have a rash guard on. Some of them, when they're preventable, you're like, I could have had a rash guard on.
Yeah.
But when you get a nick on your hand or a cut on your finger, that kind of stinks. So
it does.
But listen, guys, we've got to make a change out there in this country. Don't support anybody that doesn't support what you believe in. I know that is tough. And we've been talking a little bit Amazon wish list. Sometimes, these bigger companies, I would love to be able to start a alternative. And I think some of these big companies really like it because they're the only choice. They've taken away the choice. And that's what I don't like about, whatever it is. I mean, Home Depot took out the little lumber yards, the True Value here in Castle Rock. I like the little stores, and sometimes like you might have to wait for 2 or 3 days for them to order it. I think that's some of the things that we might have to do here to make a change in this country. And people generally listen, and they like having the control because then they can dictate what the hell, because they have all the money, they have all the product, and they can support the candidates that they want to. So get out there, make a change. Take your head out of your ass, basically. Yeah, I'm wrapping it up, Josh.
I'm just making sure.
Don't tell me what to do. I'm not the boss.
That's my job!
So go out there, guys. Do something. Get your butt to the gym. Whatever it is, wherever you guys are, try to make a change in your lifestyle. We've got some cool things coming up besides the ClearSky Defender. So check that out. Be one of the first 25 to grab this sucker because that discount is gone. Right? After that first 25, you're not going to be able to grab this knife at this price. So grab it while you can. All right, guys. We are out of here. We will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, guys. Stay safe out there. Make a change. Do something that sucks.